I, Donald John Trump,
this is not a military takeover.
Now let's get to work.
This is a story which everybody wanted to break, right from the get-go. What was going to be the Brexit Bill had become one of the sort of talismans of the entire Brexit debate, and there had been rumours going around Westminster and Brussels for 3, 4, 5 days before the story broke that we'd done a deal on the bill. And on the day in question, I got a text message from a contact in Brussels saying they've done a deal, it's true. I then started to do what all journalists do, which is try and find a second source on the story. So, in fact, I was on the train on the way in to the office in London, and I was in a WhatsApp conversation with another official, Brexit official, who confirmed to me, somewhat inadvertently, that the only issues left to resolve were citizens' rights and the question of the Northern Ireland border. And so at that point I had two sources saying that was a deal, and then the next step was to find out, well, what was that deal going to be? So we banged it into the publishing system as quickly as we possibly could, and we hit the button. 5:47 was the exact time that we went live. And it was extraordinary, the reaction. Almost immediately, the pound spiked against the euro and the dollar. And there was suddenly a sense we'd been waiting so long for this agreement on the financial bill. The important thing for us was that we went first. It was the Telegraph story that first broke the headline and moved the markets, and that's what we're in the business of doing.
2 years ago, a Syrian contact friend of mine got in touch. He told me about a source that he knew who was in Raqqa who'd be able to help me with the story I was working on British jihadis. He had been in the city for his whole life and decided he didn't want to leave when ISIL came. Then, when they became more repressive and more brutal, he decided to stage a chronicle and document what was happening in his city. He told me about the video about a year ago. He said, look, I've got this video, it shows Jihadi John and some other British fighters. I filmed it in 2014. He wanted the world to know who this man was, so what he did was he put a camera under his coat, and one day he went into an internet cafe where these British and European fighters were discussing plans. So we began talking on Telegram, and he sent me the video. It was 1.5 minutes long. It was sort of banal but extraordinary at the same time, because it was showing these fighters in a very, very private setting.
It ran as the main story on the website, driving a record number of subscribers that week, and appeared on the front page of the next day's paper. As for the source, I haven't revealed his identity to anyone. I last heard from him a few days ago. He says he's managed to escape Syria to Turkey and is doing well.
My best story in 2017, or one of them, was revealing that John Bercow, the Speaker of the House of Commons, actually voted to remain in the European Union referendum.
Personally, I voted to remain.
And this will matter if he starts to be in charge of debates about the European Union and about Brexit, and MPs will be suspicious if they can't detect an absolute neutrality in all of his rulings. And this story about John Bercow was a splash in the Sunday Telegraph, but it led the news items over the next day, and there was real pressure on John Bercow because at that time MPs were saying he should resign as Speaker because they were concerned about the way he was behaving as Speaker. So it really created a real crisis around his speakership.
So the story that I was involved in breaking this year was an interview with a guy called Prince Harry. I interviewed him about mental health and his mental health in particular, and he spoke for the first time very, very candidly about the chaos he had experienced through blocking out the death of his mother.
If you look back to the fact that I lost my mum at the age of 12, I sort of buried my head in the sand for many, many years.
The feedback was overwhelming, and it has kept on coming. I get emails and notes from people saying how much hearing him helped and completely changed the conversation around mental health. I feel really proud of what the Telegraph has done this year and what they've allowed me to do this year. We've been able to use journalism as a really positive force, and I really hope that next year we can do more of that.